Hi everyone, Miss Hamilton here to take you through the requirements for the first part of your giver essay. So here's your task for the essay. You are going to compose a 5 paragraph analysis essay, which means an introduction, 3 body paragraphs, and a conclusion addressing a key question related to the novel The Giver. So, your essay options, you have 4 of them. So, your task, first of all, is to decide which essay question you want to write about. All of them are easy in their own way and difficult in their own way. So, you think about the one that you think you have the most to say and the most evidence to support your reasoning. So, the first question that you can choose is: how is the society in The Giver a dystopia? So, remember that the definition for a dystopia is a perfect society gone wrong, or a society where any perfection is just an illusion, achieved only through strict control, fear, violence, etc. So, the society is not actually perfect. It appears to be, when really in reality, there's some sinister things going on. So, if you choose this option, you will have to provide 3 reasons why Jonas's society is a dystopia, with cited examples from the book to support your reasons. All right, option 2 is: why might sameness be both a desirable and undesirable system for a society? So, basically, what this means is you will talk about in your essay 1 to 2 reasons why sameness is a good or desirable thing. So, think about the things that they eliminated, the rules that they had in Jonas's society. Why might some of those have been good? But you will also need to talk about 1 to 2 reasons why it is a bad or undesirable thing, with cited examples from the book. So this one asks you to talk about both good and bad things about Jonas's society. All right, option number 3 is: what are the essential elements of humanity that must be preserved in any society? And the word preserved simply means to keep. So, what I mean by essential elements of humanity is the things that we need in order to make us truly human. So, you will pick 3 things that you think make us human that any society should keep. And for this one, you really want to think about the things that Jonas's society took away. So, what things did they take away that human beings should keep in order to be true human beings? And of course, again, you will support your points with cited evidence from the text. All right, the last one is: what are 3 life lessons The Giver is designed to teach readers? So this one is very open ended, and you want to think about life lessons, things that this book is supposed to teach us about how to live, how to conduct ourselves as human beings, that sort of thing. And you will come up with 3 lessons based on what happens throughout the story. So, again, think about what is being taken away, what is being kept in the story. Think about some of the major events that happened and how the ending of the story turned out as well. And of course, you must support each lesson with cited evidence from the book. So, step 1 for your essay draft is to, of course, pick which question you're going to answer. Then, step 2 is going to be to write something that we call a thesis statement. So, for any literary essay that you write, a thesis statement basically tells the reader what the entire essay is going to be about. So, you're essentially outlining for the person reading your essay the points that you're going to make. So, how to write a thesis statement first is pretty simple. So you start by turning the essay question into a fill in the blank statement. So this is a really nice way to use the language of the question to make your answer. So, for example, if my essay question was, what are the essential elements of humanity that must be preserved in a society? I would basically start here, get rid of the what. The essential elements of humanity that must be preserved in any society are, and then I will complete that sentence with my ideas. Now, step 2, this is the hardest part. Okay, you have to decide what 3 points you will make to answer the essay question. Okay, so again, here's my essay question, and I've turned it into a statement, but now I have to come up with my answers. And I'm going to have 1 point, 1 answer per body paragraph. I have 3 body paragraphs. I need to have 3 points that I'm going to make. So this one is definitely the hardest step in the process. So here's an example essay question for the giver. Now, it's not one of your essay choices because I don't want you to copy my my writing for your essay. So let's pretend that my essay question for the giver is, how is the society and the giver a utopia? Now notice you have the option of talking about how it's a dystopia, not a utopia. So you cannot use any of this for any of your essay, but it's just to give you an idea. So if I wanted to take this essay question and turn it into a thesis, it would look something like this. The society and the giver is a utopia because, notice I took the question and just flipped it around. And then notice I have 3 points that I'm going to make, one per body paragraph. So it's a utopia because no one goes hungry, point number 1. Everyone is safe, point number 2. And a sense of equality exists, point number 3. Now, of course, we know that in the giver, there's a lot more bad things that happen that make it not so much a utopia. But if I were just trying to focus on the good things that happen, these would be my 3 good things that make it seem utopian. Okay, so once I have my thesis statement, we're going to leave that thesis alone for a little bit, but we always want to have it in the back of our minds as we're writing our essay. Now, once I have my thesis, I'm ready to go into writing my body paragraphs. And my body paragraphs are basically just PEPAs put together. So I'm going to take the 3 points from my thesis statement. Here it is. So point 1, point 2, point 3. And I'm going to put them in my draft in the point section of each body paragraph. And you can see where I'm pointing there. Pretty easy. You can just copy and paste. You don't even have to rewrite it. Then, once I do that, I'm going to go into actually drafting my body paragraphs. So if I have my point, which I already do, I just have 3 steps left, which is to write my evidence, my paraphrase, and my analysis. Now, for my evidence, we have to have a direct quote because that is one of our 7th grade skills that we're working on to support our point. But because this is such a long, complicated book that has lots of different things going on, we always want to provide something called context first. So, context just simply means information that helps set up the quote. Without it, the reader of your essay may be confused. Now, you want to pretend always that the person who's reading your essay has no idea what you're talking about. They've never read the book. They have no, well, maybe they've read the book, but they really don't know what you're trying to say. Um, so notice how the first point that I'm making, it seems like a utopia because no one goes hungry. Okay, remember that was the first point in my thesis statement right here. Okay, so my evidence, of course, I want to find evidence of that, but I had to include a sentence that explains what was going on in the story at this time. So I said, in the story, Jonas remembers a time when he misspoke and was chastised or reprimanded or called out for saying he was starving when he was just hungry. And here's the actual quote. No one in the community was starving, had ever been starving, would ever be starving. So that's from page 70. So I really want you to notice how your evidence should be 2 sentences. One where you set up the quote and then the actual quote itself. And you can see that right there. Then once I have my evidence, moving on to the paraphrase. So in your own words, what does the evidence mean or show? So I say that this shows how the concept of hunger does not exist. If nobody would ever be starving, hunger doesn't exist. Okay, and then the final part is going to be your analysis, where you want to connect all of this stuff, your point, evidence, paraphrase, so I call it the PEP, back to your essay thesis. Now remember, my thesis, what I'm trying to explain here is that the society and the giver is a utopia. That's what I'm trying to prove. So in my analysis, I want to explain how this proves that Jonas's society is a utopia. So I said, in Jonas's society, they figured out a system to have food delivered to each dwelling, solving the problem of hunger. Now, in a perfect world, no one would be without food or have to worry about where their next meal would come from, which makes his society seem utopian. Okay, so this idea that no one goes hungry, in a perfect world, no one would go hungry. Okay, so I'm connecting it back to my original statement, okay, that the giver's society is a utopia in some ways. Okay. So after I do that, I'm going to continue this process for all three body paragraphs. So I've only written one body paragraph here. So I'm going to have to go back, look at my thesis, look at my second point, that everyone is safe, find some evidence from the story that shows how people are safe, and then explain how people being safe makes Jonas's society a utopia. Okay. And then, of course, I'll do the third point as well. Let me know if you have questions, and I hope this helps.